Which methods of coupling used in the transistor amplifier circuit shown? Option A RC coupled and transformer coupled. Option B transformer coupled amplifier. Option C direct and RC coupled amplifier. Option D RC and LC coupled amplifier. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি ডাইরেক্ট এন্ড আরসি কাপেলড অ্যাম্প্লিফায়ার। What is the value of R if the voltage across it is 1.2 volt and current flowing through it is 10 milliampere? Option A 180 ohm. Option B 120 ohm. Option C 100 ohm. Option D 12 ohm. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি 120 ohm. What is the voltage gain in a transistor if the input voltage in 40 mV and the output voltage in 3.6 volt? Option A 45. Option B 90. Option C 180. Option D 270. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি 90. What is the frequency of operation of the amplifier circuit using inductance and capacitance coupling? Option A video signals. Option B high frequency signals. Option C audio frequency signals. Option D intermediate frequency signals. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি হাই ফ্রিকোয়েন্সি সিগন্যালস। What is the input impedance of Darlington pair transistors? Option A very low input impedance. Option B very high input impedance. Option C medium input impedance. Option D unit. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি very high input impedance. What is the advantage of using bias in transistor circuit? Option A provides positive feedback. Option B never reach saturation. Option C easily sets saturated. Option D gives maximum distortion. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি never reach saturation. Which class of amplifier uses fixed bias because of inherent advantage of transistor will never go to saturation? Option A Class A. Option B Class B. Option C Class AB. Option D Class C. উত্তর হবে অপশন A Class A. How does the values of bias resistors selected for collector current in Class B amplifiers? Option A Q point set slightly below cut off. Option B quiescent current at midpoint. Option C quiescent current beyond the cut off point. Option D quiescent current over the cut off value. উত্তর হবে অপশন D quiescent current over the cut-off value. Which parameter of passive component can be calculated using the formula 1/2 pi Fc? Option A capacitance. Option B inductance. Option C capacitive reactance. Option D inductive reactance. উত্তর হবে অপশন C capacitive reactance. What is the advantage of silicon over germanium for transistor fabrication? Option A lower thermal stability. Option B higher thermal stability. Option C lower operating voltage. Option D higher amplification factor. উত্তর হবে অপশন B higher thermal stability. Which type of amplifier has the frequency response curve as? Option A RC coupled amplifier. Option B LC coupled amplifier. Option C direct coupled amplifier. অপশন ডি ট্রান্সফরমার কাপেলড এমপ্লিফায়ার। উত্তর হবে অপশন সি ডাইরেক্ট কাপেলড অ্যাম্প্লিফায়ার। How much is the voltage drop across the load resistor R2 in the circuit? Option A 0.9 volt. Option B 7.2 volt. Option C 8.14 volt. Option D 8.6 volt. উত্তর হবে অপশন ডি 8.6 volt. What is the efficiency transformer coupled class A amplifier? Option A less than 20%. Option B about 50%. Option C more than 60%. Option D unity. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি about 50%. What is the purpose of using positive feedback in amplifier? Option A to produce modulation. Option B to produce demodulation. Option C to produce oscillation. Option D to produce multiplexing. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি to produce oscillation. What will happen when the forward bias voltage across the PN junction is increased excessively? Option A increases the cut in voltage. Option B barrier width of junction increases. Option C junction ruptured and short circuited. Option D no current flows through the junction. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি junction ruptured and short circuited. Which test is conducted to check the basic operation of a transistor? Option A quick turn on test. Option B BE forward resistance test. Option C EC forward resistance test. Option D EC reverse resistance test. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি EC forward resistance test. What is the overall base emitter voltage required to turn the Darlington pair? Option A 0.2 volt. Option B 0.3 volt. Option C 0.7 volt. Option D 1.4 volt. উত্তর হবে অপশন ডি 1.4 volt. What is the status of the transistor in the circuit? Option A acting on an amplifier. Option B acting on an oscillator. Option C acting on an open switch. Option D acting on a closed switch. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি acting on an open switch. Why the complementary symmetry amplifier is preferred over the other types of amplifier configuration? Option A to minimize the gain. Option B to get less distortion. Option C to get more voltage gain. Option D to eliminate the transformer. উত্তর হবে অপশন ডি to eliminate the transformer. What is the voltage drop across the collector and emitter of transistor Q1? Option A 4.5 volt. Option B 6 volt. Option C 9 volt. Option D 0 volt. উত্তর হবে অপশন সি 9 volt. How can you confirm a transistor as defective? Option A by circuit testing. Option B by ohm meter testing. Option C by physical testing. Option D by voltage measurements. উত্তর হবে অপশন বি by ohm meter testing. What is the status of the transistor in the circuit? Option A, acting as an amplifier. Option B, acting as an oscillator. Option C, acting as an open switch. Option D, acting as a closed switch. হবে option D, acting as a closed switch. Where does the depletion region exits in a bipolar transistor? Option A, between emitter base electrodes. Option B, between collector base electrodes. Option C, between collector and emitter electrodes. Option D, between EB and BC electrodes. উত্তর হবে option D, between EB and BC electrodes. What causes the drop in gain at high frequencies of an RC-coupled amplifier frequency response curve? Option A, voltage divider bias arrangement. Option B, decreased reactance of coupling capacitor. Option C, increased reactance of coupling capacitor. Option D, parasitic capacitance and transistor frequency dependence gain. উত্তর হবে option D, parasitic capacitance and transistor frequency dependence gain. How does the transistor behaves above the knee voltage and below the breakdown voltage in the characteristics curve? Option A, voltage control oscillator. Option B, current control oscillator. Option C, control constant current source. Option D, control constant voltage source. উত্তর হবে option C, control constant current source. Which quantity affects the Q point of a transistor amplifier? Option A, decreased temperature. Option B, increased temperature. Option C, proper biasing methods. Option D, mismatching signal. উত্তর হবে option B, increased temperature.